Welcome back to Advancing with Amy. Today, we're talking with Linda Henderson. She has a very powerful story to share. Welcome, Linda.
Hi, nice to be here.
Oh, it's nice to have you here, and I'm very appreciative that you're going to share your story with us today because I know it is a hard one to share. All right. Can you share first a little bit about your daughter and the kind of person she was?
My daughter, Andrea, have to say her name because I love to say her name, and that's music to a bereaved mother's ears. So, Andrea was 27. She was the mother of a 2-year-old little boy, my grandson Tristan, and she was 3 months pregnant, expecting her second child. She They had just purchased a house about 5 months before the accident. So she was at a place in her life where everything was just kind of, she had a beautiful wedding, the fairy tale thing, I'm in love, having a family, starting out with a new home. And so she, was very at a happy point in her life for sure. Andrea was a social worker, and that I believe was her calling. She was a very gentle, kind, soft spoken, quiet kind of girl, but the most patient, like more patient than me, very, very patient girl. I would watch her with her little boy, and, a 2-year-old. Sometimes mothers will, get a little frustrated, or I never saw her roll her eyes. She just was super patient, and her demeanor and the way that she was, of course, that would reflected in his behavior because he was, a very good child, and of course that's all parenting stuff. But because of her personality, he was just that sweet little 2-year-old that didn't have temper tantrums, wasn't wild and crazy, but she was gentle, kind, worked with teenage girls that were very troubled from the ages of 13 to 18. They'd been through the foster care. She was worked with a group home, and she was teaching their program for literacy. And some of the kids there had like reading levels of grade 4. And so just being as patient as that was her calling. She also liked writing. When she was in high school, she used to write for her high school. Back in those days, we would have the newspaper, when we had our local newspaper come and be delivered once a week, she would write an article for her school, like what's up, what's going on with the sports teams and all that kind of stuff. So she was the writer, and she went into journalism, but it wasn't quite what she expected. And then, of course, it's a big turnaround from social work to journalism. But I believe that she really was in a place where she needed to be, and she was helping these girls and helping the community. She loved
Yeah.
horseback riding. She rode a horse from the time she was like 7, and that was her passion. She loved horseback riding, and she did. In Canada, we have what we call baton twirling. Think you call it cheerleading in the States.
Hmm.
So
Yep.
she did that as well. Yeah, she
Wow. She sounds
very
amazing.
special girl. Mhm.
Yeah. If you feel comfortable, can you tell us about the day that changed? That everything changed for you?
Absolutely. Yeah, it was a day that changed my world completely. My world was just shattered like broken glass in front of me. December 20th, 2011, Andrea was killed in a car accident, a horrific car accident, because they were hit twice. Her and her coworker, she was a passenger in the front seat, and her coworker was the driver, and they were stopped waiting to turn left at a light when a transport truck driver. I'm sorry. I tell this
That's
story, and
okay.
you never know That's the thing about grief. It's unpredictable, right? You think, yeah, I got this. Anyway, the transport truck driver hit them from behind and he was texting and driving. He was in the process of having an argument with his girlfriend and he hit them, pushed them into the oncoming traffic where they were T-boned and hit again. And both her and her coworker were killed instantly. So that was on December 20th, few days before Christmas. I was at the shopping mall. We were texting all morning, and she was just telling me how she was nauseated, and just her pregnancy things, mom and daughter conversations. We told each other we loved each other all the time. And that, was no different that day. So for that, I'm thankful. I'm thankful that, she knew I loved her and I knew that she loved me. So, I wasn't left with any guilt in that respect, but it was pretty startling when the text messages just stopped out of nowhere around 12:30 and the accident happened, I think they said about quarter to 1. So I was just 10 minutes away at the mall doing some Christmas shopping and because she had purchased a house, her um, identification hadn't been updated. She procrastinated and so her address was her old address. And as a result of that, we didn't find out until about 6 hours later. And of course, the text messages that stopped, that anxiety just started to build and build and build as the time went on because it was very unlike her. If she couldn't talk, she would just say, "Mom, gotta go." And but it was just, abrupt. And then when the time came for her to pick up her son, who was being babysat by her husband's mother, the paternal grandmother, she didn't pick him up. And then I knew, I knew because she would never not show up to pick up her baby. He was her pride and joy. So I I couldn't take it anymore. I couldn't sit around not knowing. Her husband hadn't heard from her. So I just told my husband, that's it. Around 5:30 or so, I said, I'm going to her place of employment. I'm going to drive there. I don't know maybe she's working, maybe her phone died. I have to find out. I have to go somewhere. I have to do something. I can't handle this anymore. So I drove. And as I was on the highway where I had to make my exit, there was a sign that said the road was closed. And I knew. And then my phone rang. I didn't have hands-free at the time, so I pulled over and it was my husband and he phoned and he was telling me that the police are here. You need to come home. I was a nurse for 37 years, so, I knew that if I have to come home, then I know they have some bad news for me. Otherwise, they'd be just saying, "Go to the hospital."
Right.
So that drive back home on the highway were high speeds, and it was clearly the Carrie Underwood song of "Jesus Take the Wheel" because I don't know how I got home. I don't know how I returned home that night. And I got home, police cruisers, 3 of them. It was, by then dark, every light on in the house. I don't even think I turned the car off. I don't even think I put it in, well, I must have put it in park, but I just entered the house and they didn't tell me. I knew. And I looked at the police officer and, he said, well, all he said was it was instant. And I just pounded my fist on his chest and told him he was a liar. You have the wrong person. This is not Andrea. This is not my daughter. I didn't identify her. So how do you know? Right. And then I collapsed. And
Wow.
that was my life. Complete, stop, halted, and this is the new version of me.
How did you handle that grief in the first few days after that?
To be honest, I was heavily medicated for several weeks probably into months. I really don't remember a lot about it, but my husband, thankfully, he took quite a bit of time off work, and I just existed. I could, I was aware that my heart was beating, but it was like an out of body experience. You know, I could I could hear things. I knew life was going on, but I was completely detached from the world. And so I was like a robot. And my husband, would basically say, you need to eat. It's breakfast. This is breakfast. This is supper. I would eat and then go back to bed. And then he would say, when's the last time you showered? When, you need to go shower. You need to brush your teeth. And so he just directed me as to what I had to do, and it was just day by day, week after week, and then I guess I just survived when he went back to work. It's moment to moment, and in those early days, it's moment to moment, you know.
Yeah. Sounds like you had a good support system though, so that's
Uh,
something to be thankful for.
yes, I'm very, very, very fortunate and blessed because, he has been my rock, even with me, writing my book. If it wasn't for him, I don't know. I wouldn't be able to do a lot of things in life. But
Right.
yes, I'm very, very blessed.
Why don't you tell us about your book?
Well, I was out walking one day. I had learned through my grief that I just, had to get myself out of the house. I mean, initially, you open the door and you smell the fresh air, and then you have to get yourself motivated to get out, outside and, be part of life again. And eventually, walking became my thing. And it allowed me to yell and scream and talk with God and talk with Andrea and just release everything that I had to release related to guilt, related to grief, all the emotions, the anger. And I came home one day and that's it. I'm going to write a book. I don't know how I'm going to do it because like I said, I was a nurse for 37 years and I'm dating myself, but it wasn't really computerized. So we did all of our progress notes. Everything we did was handwritten. And so I wasn't that familiar with computers. And so I'm like, how do I write? He said, you just open up, a document in Word and start writing. I said, how do I do that? So he
Mhm.
guided me step by step. And eventually I wrote my book. And it was the best thing that I ever did for me because now I have a new purpose. I'm just passionate about reaching other people, telling my story, giving inspiration, giving hope, and, empowerment that, with grief or any adversities of life, depression, anxiety, I've experienced them all and I still have them and they're lifelong, that you can get through. You can do it. It's possible to do it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can you explain a little more about what your book is exactly going into? It's not just the story, it's
It,
helpful advice, right?
yes, it's a memoir. It is my story of child loss, my journey of child loss. So, I start out from the beginning with that. It's called The Road of Love and Hope because it's a story of love. It's the story of my love and our bond and my daughter. And I grieve because I love. And,
Right.
that's, you just can't have one without the other. So the road of love and hope, but I mean, it is the worst road that a mother could ever walk on. So, you know, the cover is, just me walking on this road that's nothing but rocks, no definition, because you don't know where you're going and you don't know how you're going to get there. But going through the grief, the sun will always shine. You know, I often compare grief to the weather. you know, even though it's a rainy day out there, that sun is up there and it is going to shine. So, the book has the clouds and the rays of sun shining. And I wrote it with that in mind, like the first chapter is the big boulder. The big boulder is wham, there's this big, huge boulder. It happened. And what am I going to do? Do I go left? Do I go right? I can't go anywhere. I just have this big boulder of loss in front of me. And how do I start? And then the rest of the chapters just kind of flow with that, maps, tools, like support system, seeing your family doctor, how important that is, how important it is to, if you counseling may not be for you, but, different things that you can do, meditation, yoga, all those things. And then I talk a lot about those early days where you just have to cry and breathe. And then my stories, and my journals. I have some of my journals in my book and pictures
Wow.
and
Yeah.
a lot about grief, depression, anxiety, what to expect. Because I remember, in that first year, I wanted, I thought I was going crazy. I thought I was losing my mind. And it's scary. I often said to my husband that I feel like I don't know what it feels like to have a brain injury, but I feel like my brain is damaged. And it is because, if you go and read the in depth studies of grief, that part of your brain, the reasoning, the rationalization, that's all damaged. And your brain has to rewire a path now without that loved one in your life. So there's information in there because in that first year, I didn't know any of those things. So I just felt that someone reading it needs to know that they're normal and they're okay. It's okay to expect this and this, you know.
It's a great resource. Yeah.
Mm.
What would you tell someone who's just going through that right now? It's just something's happening to them and they've just lost their child.
Well, in those early moments, you know, it's important to have a support system. Like myself, I had my husband, hopefully they can have someone to rely on, but you just have to feel every feeling. You have to shed those tears because those tears are the unspoken words of love. You cry because you loved and that person is not here. And your body needs to release all of those emotions and breathe. Just breathe, and be thankful that you have a moment where you can catch your breath and, take the time to rest. Grief is exhausting. So if you need, being in bed and sleeping, that's all okay because it's very hard work. It's hard on the body, physically, mentally. And, as time goes on, that I would say you need to make sure you're connected with your family doctor because you're so emotionally distraught, you don't really think about what's happening to your body physically, nutrition. You need to, make sure that someone else can kind of keep an eye on that for you.
Did you ever feel like people were wanting you to move on quicker than you could or forgetting about Andrea? Not you forgetting, but other people?
I even feel now, that some people, well, yeah, society says that, I mean, how much do they give you? How many days do they give you to come to be off work, right? Society
Yeah.
says that you are pretty much, you need to move on. That's the message that society gives, right? That you need to move on, you go back to work and life goes back to normal. Initially everybody's around and like our freezer was filled with all this food, and so for the first couple of months, people are attentive, but then they go back to their life and it's the person that is left dealing with it. And the support system gradually diminishes, but society says you grieve and you have to get on. But it's been 12 years and grief changes. And because it changes, I don't I don't like to say that it gets easier, but I don't want to give the wrong message because there's nothing easy about grief. There's nothing easy about losing your child, but it changes and you learn and you become experienced in your grief. So, in that respect, I guess you could say it's easier. But the pain, the missing, the longing, the desire to have the one that you love here, that never changes.
No, I've always heard that losing a child is the worst thing anybody can ever go through.
I believe so, it
Yeah.
for sure. For sure. You have that child and, I'm blessed, I've reached a point, I guess, of maturity in my grief where, you know, I I'm happy and proud that I had 27 years with her, right? And I'm still her mother. So I
Yes.
have, I can, I'm still her mother, even though she's not here. You are always a parent, no matter what. They're just not here right now in a physical form, but, I believe she's with me all the time. I talk to her, I say good morning to her, so it it works for me. Some people may not, but I talk to her all the time and I hear her voice and it gives me hope,
That's
right?
great.
Mhm.
Do you do something special to keep her memory alive?
Oh, for sure. When her birthday comes, my grandson, he's 15 now. Her little boy was 2 at the time. He we have him for a week in the summer, and I always try to have him around Andrea's birthday, July 17th. And we have a cake for her, and he knows it's a cake for Mommy in Heaven. He knows it's Mommy in Heaven's birthday. Christmas time, from the very first Christmas, not that particular Christmas that when she passed, because December 20th was the accident. December 23rd, I buried my daughter. There was no Christmas that year. The following year, I consider it the first Christmas, and we didn't have Christmas. We had an Andrea Day. And so all of the family and friends came, and all the decorations. Her favorite color was red, so that's easy with Christmas, but she also loved purple. So I had purple garland, purple Christmas balls. I bought a little purple Christmas tree about 2 feet high, and she loved clementine oranges, and I made little clementine orange candles, so the scent of clementines was going through the house, and everything was about Andrea, and that particular Andrea Day didn't carry on through the years, but the purple Christmas tree is decorated every single year by her son. We have our Christmas tree, but I saved that and he still decorates it to this day for her because that's mommy's tree.
Yeah, that's
So,
wonderful. Yeah. Do you have any future projects or plans related to supporting grieving parents?
well, I have been doing these podcasts, getting my stories out there, as much as I can. My book is now my tool that I want to, reach out and put in the hands of people that need it. So I've been doing book signing at our local bookstores right here in our hometown. It's called Chapters, probably comparable to your Barnes and Noble, and so they've just made me author of the month for June. So, that's pretty exciting. So I'm going on June 15th for a book signing. And, I just want to reach out. If I can reach just one person on that day, that's how I look at it, to help. Or if I've given my, my business card with the book to someone and somehow or other it's passed along and someone gets my book and I can help, that is my passion. I'm not sure, but I think I would like to do some speaking
I
So
was
I'm not,
wondering that.
yeah, I think, I'm not sure how that door is going to open, but I would like to do some speaking and also to an organization. I'm just not sure which direction to go in for that. I've thought about that a long time. I already have a name for it. And so, a nonprofit foundation to help bereaved parents, or possibly for underprivileged children, for reading, providing money for a literacy program for children that, need tutoring, that sort of thing, because that would be carrying through what she was doing, and that would
Yeah,
be continuing her legacy. So I'm
that's
not sure. There's
beautiful.
a few ideas on the burner right now.
Well, that's great. You are definitely amazing. You've got some incredible resilience. So, thank you for
Thank
coming
you.
and telling your story. Where can everyone find you and where can they buy your book?
The book is available on Amazon. And my website is lindahendersonwright.com, and it can be purchased from the website. There's Amazon links there. And I'm also on the social media, TikTok, Facebook. I've been trying to help bereaved parents on TikTok, making videos talking about hope, talking about, I'm having a bad day today, and, sharing those tears and sharing those moments and letting people know that it's okay, and that, because loneliness is a big thing in grief. You feel like you are totally alone, and nobody in this world has the same pain as you, but there are lots, and so I belong to quite a few of the bereaved moms groups, on Facebook, and try to just keep in touch and help that way.
That's wonderful. Thank you for everything you do. Is
Well, it's my new purpose. This is what I need to do for myself and Andrea, and I know that this is what she would want her mama to do.
definitely. Is there
Mhm.
anything you'd like to leave our listeners with today?
Well, it's almost become my new motto. I always say, embrace the moments, every moment, even if it's a moment where you can breathe and talk to someone in between your tears. Those moments, or later on, moments with your family, moments with your, children, moments of life. Embrace those moments, because today is the only little piece of time that we can control. Yesterday's gone, and today is here. So you need to embrace those moments and cherish the memories,
Yeah,
because the memories, that cause tears right now will warm your heart later. So I say embrace the moments, cherish the memories. And by doing that and letting a little bit of life in, it creates hope for tomorrow, or hope that, in the next hour, I'm going to feel better, to anticipate. And, in your mind, hope is the expectation that things will get better. Or, and so by embracing the moments, cherishing the memories, it gives us hope for tomorrow.
that's great. That's
That's
beautiful.
my message.
Well, thank you very much, Linda. I've really enjoyed having you on today. I'm sorry the story was so sad, but it was very powerful. And I think everybody will appreciate it and it will touch the hearts of people who are going through the same thing.
Mhm. Well, that's my goal, to give inspiration and hope, that you can do this, no matter what, whether it be grief from a child, someone that you love, depression, mental health. I just want to give the message of empowerment, that by letting life in little small increments at a time, that you will get better, and it is possible to survive and thrive.
Yeah, you've got to keep that hope. You're right.
Mhm.
All right,
Mhm.
Linda, thank you very much for coming on today. I hope you have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
All right, warriors, if you found something that resonated with you in this episode, please remember to like, share, and subscribe.